Welcome to Midnight Audiobooks. Tonight we explore one of Japan's most celebrated short stories, Rashomon, written by Ryunosuke Akutagawa in 1915. A tale set in Heian period Kyoto, where a crumbling gate becomes the stage for one man's darkest choice. It was a late autumn evening. A servant stood beneath the Rashomon gate, waiting for the rain to pass. There was no one else. Beneath the great pillars, faded with red lacquer, a single cricket perched in silence. The Rashomon gate stood on Suzaku Avenue, and yet not another soul sought shelter there. The reason was simple. In recent years, Kyoto had suffered one disaster after another. Earthquakes, whirlwinds, fires, famine. The city had fallen into ruin. Old records speak of people smashing Buddhist statues and temple fittings, piling the gilded and lacquered wood by the roadside, selling it as firewood. If the city itself had fallen to such depths, it was no wonder the Rashomon gate stood unmaintained, forgotten. Foxes made their dens in its shadows, thieves lurked in its darkness, and eventually it became custom to bring unclaimed corpses and leave them within the gate. So, as the sun set, everyone grew afraid to come near. Instead, crows gathered. During the day, they could be seen circling the ridge tiles, crying out, and now, in the dusk, they appeared as black specks scattered against a sky turning the colour of embers. The crows came, of course, for the flesh of the dead, but today, for some reason, not a single crow was visible. The servant sat on the wide stone steps, the seventh step from the top, watching the evening rain, his right cheek resting on a large pimple that had formed there. He was lost in thought. He had been dismissed by his master just that day. After years of service in Kyoto, he had been let go, a consequence of the city's long decay. And so he sat, with no place to go, no way forward, in the rain, beneath the crumbling gate. If he were to be honest with himself, he could not think clearly. In ordinary times he would, of course, have returned to his master's house, but that was no longer possible. If he remained on the streets, he would likely starve, and if he were to survive, he might have no choice but to become a thief. His thoughts circled back to the same place again and again, and yet he lacked the courage to simply decide, "Yes, I will become a thief." The rain showed no sign of stopping. Night was falling over Kyoto. The servant had no plans for the night ahead, no shelter, no food. He would have to find somewhere to sleep. Perhaps the gate itself would provide at least that much. He looked up toward the upper story of the gate. If anyone was up there, they were dead. He could see the legs of a corpse, stiff and cold, jutting out over the top of the stairs. He steeled himself, drew his sword, and climbed the dark staircase, step by careful step. What he found at the top stopped him cold. The upper chamber was filled with bodies, cast here and left to rot. The smell hit him first. Then, slowly, his eyes adjusted to the dim light filtering through the broken boards. And then he saw her. An old woman, hunched, gaunt, her white hair loose around her shoulders, was crouched beside one of the bodies. She held a small flame in one hand, and with the other she was pulling hair. One by one, strand by strand, pulling the hair from a dead woman's head. The servant did not move. His fear had been replaced by something else entirely, a cold, consuming hatred for all evil. Or so he told himself. He crossed the floor in 3 long strides. He seized the old woman by the collar and threw her down. "What are you doing?" She blinked at him, her eyes red as a bird's. Then, in a voice that was almost a croak, "I am pulling hair. Hair for a wig." The servant released her slightly, though his grip on the sword did not loosen. "The dead cannot complain," she continued, meeting his eyes without flinching. "I need to eat. I do what I must to survive. Is that not what all living things do?" The servant stared at her. "And this woman," the old one went on, gesturing to the body whose hair she'd been pulling, "was no innocent herself. She sold snake meat to the palace guards, dried and cut into strips, telling them it was dried fish. She did what she had to do, to survive." A strange warmth spread through the servant's chest. It was the opposite of what he had felt moments ago. The hatred that had flared inside him, cool, righteous, certain, began to dissolve. In its place rose something darker and more honest. The courage to do what must be done. He understood now. If one must choose between starving and stealing, then one steals. That was simply the logic of survival. The same logic this old woman lived by. The same logic the dead woman on the floor had once lived by. He looked down at the old woman. "Then you will not blame me for what I am about to do." Before she could answer, he tore the clothing from her body, a single, swift motion. She clawed at his arm, screaming. He kicked her aside. He descended the stairs quickly, the stolen clothes under his arm. Behind him, the old woman crawled to the top of the staircase and peered into the darkness below. She could see nothing, only night. The servant vanished into the dark of Kyoto. Where he went after that, no one knows. Thank you for listening to Midnight Audiobooks. Rashomon by Ryunosuke Akutagawa. If this story moved you, please subscribe and join us again for another night with Japan's greatest literature. Good night.